Okay, so it did take a little bit of time for everything to come in. So, this is gonna be kind of a bit of a continuation. Also, hello to start off. I'm just gonna be talking a little bit more because honestly, I enjoy it, and I don't have to, like I said before, I don't have to be focusing on a game. Um, so in regards to that, I've just had a quite a bit on my mind, especially considering I ended up missing therapy by accident. Um, Things got really busy, like really busy at work, and then I had a bunch of issues with like my phone the past couple of days. Apparently there was some kind of flare with the sun that was causing a lot of like electronics to malfunction. And then when it finally did work right for a minute, I didn't have data. So it's been kind of weird, but for the most part, the one thing, well, one of the few things that was really on my mind, and I talked to a couple of friends about it yesterday, was I'm a little like, and it kind of ties into why I haven't been streaming since the last time I did. The reason for that kind of ties into like partially me being burnt out. And I know a lot of that comes from factors outside of streaming because I haven't been in a while, but like a lot of the games that I do prefer to play, like I'm rather burnt out on in one way or another. And then on top of that, um, not to say I'm not open to playing any new ones, but it really depends. Like, everyone has really, and I mean really, wanted me on like, I'm not, well, a specific someone, but it turned into like everyone around me, is on the paleo train. And I was like, there has to be something going on if like everyone is hopping onto paleo like this. It is free, so I am thinking about it, but I also need to get a new pair of Joy-Cons because mine are having like connectivity and issues, and it would be like, I feel like it'd be too much for me to send them in to get them fixed because it's been quite a while, and even the original ones that I do have, I don't know if they would really be willing to fix them because I've had it for so long. So I'm not entirely sure, but um, we'll see. But I also found this nice little set on Amazon. Um, it sucks that I couldn't get the ones that I really wanted because the ones that I really wanted were white and they had LEDs that were like changed colors through the rainbow. So for me, I was just like, okay, well, if that's the case, I'll just buy those when I get the money to go from there. Unfortunately, they sold out. um, and the one thing about certain items that sell out on Amazon, usually it takes a couple of months before they actually reset or are up for being resold again. So I don't entirely know when those specifically are going to happen, but I did find a pair. Granted, they're not what I wanted in terms of like color or anything like that, but I did find a pair that I wanted to get, and they're $30, and thankfully they're still eligible for purchase, thankfully, and also still eligible for Prime purchase. Let me turn her around. There we go. So essentially, that's what I want to do from there. But also, like, I think I'm just burned out with a lot of things that I tend to enjoy. Like, the only thing that I could really say that I still consistently do is I journal a lot. But even then, most of the time when I'm journaling, it's just kind of to, like, get out feelings of sadness or frustration or anything like that. It's never a positive journaling, but it's always a level of journaling to where, like, um, it's always a level of journaling to where I can kind of get my feelings out there. And then if anybody asks how I'm doing or how I'm feeling or whatever, I can just, like, show them that, and then that's the end of it. I had to drink some of my water.
Assume you finish these off?
No, but I'm leaving that for later. Alright, so anyway. So, with that in mind, I kind of hate it. And I only really hate it, not because I hate the purpose of journaling. I still love that. But I hate that, and I've said this a couple of times, I never really have any particular, like, good things to write about or to really, like, speak on. Like, some stuff will happen now and then, but it's never like a consistent type of thing. And it's kind of like, oh, excuse me for 1 second. Oh, but yeah, it's kind of like, it's hard to always want to talk about a lot of different things when everything just seems to come up like red instead of black. So there's never any, like, good news at any particular point in time. I'm always stressed about something. I'm always upset or sad or just don't have the energy. I'm like my avatar laying there. Like, it's like each week or each month I'm just kind of laying, like, flat on my face because something happened or work has worn me out or what have you. It sucks. So, and the whole thing about me writing, ironically, was that I've been doing it since I was younger. I want to say I've been doing it since middle school. I've always kind of had ideas of what I wanted to speak on or how I would do things, or, like, I had a relatively, I guess you could call it a creative imagination, so to speak. But I feel like I could never really, like, cash in on that because I never felt any of my stuff was good enough. Whether I was writing just horrible fan fiction, which everybody has one of those phases where they're writing terrible fan fiction, or whether I was kind of writing what would be now kind of cringy poetry. It was just something I really loved to do. And ironically, I did want to teach at some point until I was hit with, like, the reality of teaching. And that was even before the stuff that happens in schools, in Minecraft. Even before that, like, I had realized how much teachers are underpaid and underappreciated for the amount of work that they put in. And it was kind of like a little bit of a wake up call. And at that point, I was just kind of like, oh, well, I don't want to do that. So it ended up kind of not blowing up in my face, obviously, but it ended up kind of turning around to where I was like, yeah, no, I'm good. If they're going to be treated like that, and if all of that is going to happen, then I think I am good with just, like, you know, not doing that. Um, just because. So, I had wanted to go from that to just writing in general. That's essentially what I wanted to do. Um, some form of creative writing was going to be my minor, with my like education, but I didn't think that a lot of, well, first of all, I didn't always follow like how the professors would want you to write and journal stuff, because I felt like if you have a time frame to do it and you actually are creative, putting a time stamp on that, or like putting a time limit on that, well, not a time limit, putting a deadline on that is only gonna like kind of stunt the process. Like, if you really want to create something and like it means a lot to you, the idea has kind of just got to come to you naturally. It's not something that you can just pull out your ass. And, for some people that can do it, that's great. I'm not downplaying them or anything. But there are plenty of more people who can't versus people who can. And the fact of the matter is, I'm one of the people that really can't. Like, it takes me a little while to like connect the dots on something I want to do, or if it's something I'm really like passionate about, it kind of comes in like a brain blast or a spark of inspiration, something like that. It's not something that can really be rushed, and even if you do have the idea, you then have to put like certain ideas together, trying to make sure that like it makes sense not only to you, but you also kind of have to partially play as a reader who doesn't know any of what you're really talking about. And it was kind of one of those things where I would I had to withdraw from the course that I was in, not because I was doing bad, but because the professor that I had was like a real putz, and they were not happy that I didn't follow the way they particularly wanted me to do stuff versus how I was doing it. So I ended up leaving the class, but ultimately I did want to pursue something, and then like my other friends who liked writing, give me one. Alright, oh shit. Jay, oh my god, hello. This was very random and unplanned, but I just wanted to talk again, honestly. Um, excuse me. I was talking about how initially, like, what kind of led down, how am I? That's kind of a bit of a loaded question because I am quite a few things. Um, I wish that a a good part of them were all relatively good things, but I'm here, which has been kind of like majority of the year for me so far. It's always kind of been like, hey, I'm here, I'm alive, I exist. Um, Thank you, I appreciate it. It's just been a lot of stress within the past, like, most of this half of the year, and it's gotten to a point where I just sit here and I'm like, I don't know if it's okay for me to just be like, hey, maybe the second half of the year will turn around. Maybe good things will happen. Maybe everything that I've been dealing with, from stuff in April to the deep freezer cutting into what was going to be a trip in like the next month or so, to having to cut the trip off in general. Maybe it was just something that, you know, maybe all of that will be made up for in the second half of the year, but I hold no hope for that. And then my coworker, as nice as she is, she's very sweet, but I found out that she's gonna be like over me as far as the text department goes, because the text manager I did have, it turns out she had gotten so sick that either she couldn't come back, or she decided not to come back, or they let her go and they were going to lay her off anyway, just simply because of, a bunch of different things. And it was just really something. And when I found it out, I wasn't upset at first until I remembered, like, when I had tried to talk to my manager about me getting that position, and I was told like all these different things. Like, for example, I had to drive, and then I find out that like the girl who's like taking that position, she takes a train to work a good majority of the time. And I'm not putting any of this on her. I don't blame her. I just met her. And like I said, she's very cool. She used to listen to K-pop heavier than she does now, and she watches certain anime, and just is overall a cool person. Yeah, like, you gave me like 10 different reasons over the sun why I wasn't a fit for that position, and then turn around and have someone that's turning, we share the same birth month too, which is kind of interesting. Our birthdays are both in August. But you hire someone that I'm essentially gonna help teach in regards to text, because let's be real, no training that a job can give you over a course of training videos on the computer properly prepare you for what happens on the job. There's always going to be exceptions. There's always going to be stuff from a case by case basis, and that's something you kind of learn as you go. But it's kind of like I look back at that and I'm like, so I was looking to do that, and you were even telling me that I was putting in all this work and you were going to give me like more responsibility for the future, only for you to then turn around and give that opportunity to someone else. And I said that I didn't want the position, and really I don't, because you have to talk to a bunch of parents, and professors are in some ways rude and in some cases sexist, because the campus is majority white and it's a Catholic private university, so they're always on their bullshit. But it was kind of, and it's not a racism thing, because the girl that's taking that spot is also black. So I'm sitting here and I'm just kind of like, what the fuck, like it's so weird. But there was nothing I could really do except like take it on the chin. I didn't have a choice, because it's like, what am I gonna do? Tell them to like go fuck themselves, and then I have to spend another like 2-3 years looking for another job? So there's just that, and so much from like, it's like everything was going particularly well in January, and then that said incident happened in February, and everything's kind of gone downhill since. Like, my hours had been cut from 10 to 2 for a while. I'm just now getting back up to like 10 to 4 or 10 to 3, thankfully. So there's that, and I'm sitting here and I'm just like, my God, why? Like, it just sucked so much. And then, you know, with the deep freezer set me back, and I know they're not here, but when my deep freezer broke down and I told them I was probably going to have to cancel my trip, even though I canceled it anyway, I was going to have to cancel it because I couldn't. We had just went grocery shopping, and there was a risk that food was going to go bad. You know, Pi really looked me out, and I'll forever appreciate them for it. But I feel like that was kind of also the breaking point to where I would um, really need to not get my hopes up about it once we got it. But then, like, a whole bunch of stuff happened, I think, towards the end of towards the beginning of this month, that pretty much put the nail in the coffin. And it's kind of like, I don't necessarily know what higher power in the universe is like constantly kicking me while I'm down, but I would appreciate it if they would stop, because this ain't it. And not to mention, like, with my real life friends, I feel relatively detached from them, which sucks, because those are also like my friends who I travel with, and I'm sorry you're having to deal with so much. Yeah, I mean, again, like, two of them in real life, they're doing their own thing. One of them is like a team lead at his new job, doing his best to like get himself out the mud. He's like putting in a lot of work without going into too much detail. And the other one, he's like doing performances at different conventions and stuff like that. So with the two of them, I know that they're busy, and also going to conventions and not being, and for one of them, going to conventions and not being a guest there is a little bit far-fetched. So I kind of get it. But at the same time, like the other parts of that group, with the exception of one other person, it's like I wouldn't necessarily say I've outgrown them, but I don't know if it's therapy. I don't know if it's constant tarot card readings calling me out. I don't know if Kylo's advice and like their perspectives on things have like rubbed off on me and I've turned into a like more of a different person than I was. But I feel very like more open-minded, I guess you can say. And I don't mean that in terms of like what you generally tie that with. More so, I feel like that in regards to being open and honest about what I like and what I don't like, and not feeling the need to constantly go on about things I don't like, and just kind of like enjoying more like peace and enjoying more of like, again, what I love. Even if I don't have the energy to invest in that like I want to, which has more to do with my home situation than anything. In fact, the home situation is part of why I ended up having to refund what I was dealing with initially. So it's it's been a lot. The only real plus is that my hours shot up the last 2 weeks, and then we got double pay for Juneteenth. So hopefully we get our bonus, and the last couple of days have boosted us up enough to where our whatchamacallit is just good enough for us to get a thick enough bonus. And when I get paid next week, I can just like try and do something nice for myself for the most part, because it's not even really so much, well, I've earned it, but I'm also willing to admit that like I deserve it for constantly having to deal with just like so much. But it's like I have no hope for like the other half of the year. Well, you know what? That's a strong saying. It's not that I don't have any hope for the second half of this year. It's more so that I'm not holding my breath. I'm not really expecting anything for the second half of the year. I'm not getting my hopes up, you could say. Because I feel like once you do that, if things fall apart, then it just makes the fallout just a whole lot worse. I've been like I said, I've been just like incredibly tired. A little earlier, before you had came in, I was saying how I had just felt like burnt out from a lot of things, because like honestly nothing truly felt all that enjoyable for a while. So I was kind of just like going through the motions, and even if I was like playing a game that I did enjoy, it would only take but like maybe a good 20 to 30 minutes before I'd have to put the game down. Not because I hated the game, but just because I wasn't feeling like playing it anymore. There are some times where I'll get on the computer and like either I'll be looking to look up something, or excuse me, either I'd be looking to pull something up, or I'll be on YouTube or whatever, and then like after a good like maybe 5 to 10 minutes, I'm just off the thing and I'm laying back down, and then half the time when I am at home, I'm laying down and I'm asleep most of the time. Um, and the thing is, it's not that I don't want to leave my house, but alright, to give some context, there is this card shop by where I live. Um, it's about 45 minutes away, maybe like 30, 35, depending on traffic if I were to like take an Uber or something there. But the thing is, the card shop there has gone through a like pretty dramatic change. And I've played Magic the Gathering before, but I don't play it that often. Like, I don't dedicate into it that often, like money or time or what have you. So, like, some of the guys will invite me to come down, and I get why. What is this? Oh, they're sending me a paperless email. But that's fine. But yeah, so like, so they'll invite me down there, but the thing is, with everybody playing Magic the Gathering, I'm just kind of sitting there. I don't have a deck with me. I don't want to pull up to like a table to try and start a conversation because I don't want to feel like I'm bothering anybody. Hold on one second. Okay. So yeah, I don't want to pull up while they're in the middle of the game because I don't want to feel like I'm bothering anybody. But I'm also just like kind of at a separate table. They're playing they're playing Magic. I'm just kind of like sitting there on my Switch, and I end up thinking to myself, well, if I was just going to be playing my Switch, I could have just saved myself the money or the trip or the energy of having to like make myself seem somewhat okay. I could have just taken that and I could have just stayed home. Both buildings have air conditioning. The only difference is this one has a bed. My bed. So I really don't have to worry about too much of anything. And I have food that I don't have to buy. So again, I don't really have to worry about anything. But it's one of those things where it's like, all right, you have me here, but if I'm just going to be doing the same thing I could do at home, I might as well just be at home, you know? And even when relaxing at someone else's house, it's a little bit different because at least at that point, you guys can like shoot the shit or like play a game or just like chill. It's different when you're like in a place where you don't know anybody except maybe one or two people, but those one or two people know everyone else. So they're doing their thing, and you're kind of left to your own devices, even though they're the ones that wanted you to come. So that's really it. I'm not even saying that we need to like go and spend X amount of money to go somewhere and chill. I'm not saying that, but like if you want me to come out and ultimately like I'm just kind of there and you guys are chilling with other people, what was the point of you having me come out if that makes sense? So like there's been kind of a disconnect there, and um this will really be the only stream that I reveal this. um I'm turning 31 in like the next I want to say 2 months, because it's in August. So, like, 1 month from Monday would be the start of my birth month, which is in August. And, when you're reminded of like the fact that you're getting older and you feel like you don't really have anything to, if this is triggering for anybody that's listening, I do apologize. You can feel free to like leave the stream. Thank you for listening to me, ramble on. But it's kind of just thoughts I've wanted to get out there. But again, if it's triggering, please take care of yourself first. You don't. It's perfectly fine. I do not take it personally because I know there are some people who probably feel like what I'm about to say. Um, when you get like older to a point, and I don't even think it's a midlife crisis, but when you get older, you start like looking at what you have to show for being older. And I'm always in this constant state of I don't really do anything because I'm tired, but and I know I need rest, but a part of me hates the fact that I need rest because if I need rest, I'm not doing anything. And if I'm not doing anything, I feel like I'm disappointing someone in some way, or I'm like a massive failure, and it's just the worst. And like after the last couple of months, hold on a second. Okay, so it's like this never ending like vicious cycle, and back to and that kind of ties in with why I don't like write a lot, or why I don't continue to write a lot. um I have ideas every now and then, but I don't really put them out there like that. Like, I don't have anything that would like, how do I put it? I don't have I know of sites where I could put it out there, but I don't use them. And the simple reason is because I don't always think what I want to write is all that good enough. Like, I'll have an idea and I'll like write it down or what have you, and then like I'll kind of look back on it and I'll just be like, there's no way. And a part of that also comes from there are other friends of mine who like sharing their writing with me, and I kind of look at that and I'm like, they've put all this time into this. Like, one is like writing a novel and they just finished it, but I look at it and I'm kind of like, I could never do that. Like, I could never really like build off of that. And even if I could, some of the stuff is more like your typical big battle type of thing, based on like the vibes of the show that I'm thinking of at that particular moment in time. The only other thing that I don't have an issue with really is like writing wrestling wise. And the thing about writing wrestling wise is that some stories are simple that you can make more complex, and some stories are like really more complex than they need to be when it's very, very simple. But when I would talk about it with my other friends who would um, also talk about wrestling with me, usually if I had an idea that I wanted to put out there, it would kind of just get cut off. And I know that it wasn't intentional, but also, like, it kind of sucked because I think I'm one of those people that if I'm, what's the word? If I get too distracted or too off topic, I'm gonna lose my train of thought. So even if I have like a huge idea that I really, really like and I want to get it out there because, I like they have to hear this and I think it'll be so exciting. Like once I get cut off, if I lose that train of thought for whatever reason, um that's pretty much it. Like it takes a good while for it to finally come back. And it's always sucked, and I know where that comes from. I've always kind of given up a lot of the time when I had a feeling that I wasn't like nearly as good as I thought I was at something, or even as good as like family told me I was at something, which always led me to then like dismiss the beliefs that I was smart or intelligent or articulate in any way or anything like that. Um, I've always kind of given it up. And like half the time at my job when I'm talking about something, um, I don't even think that's really me talking because when I hear myself, it sounds like I know what I'm talking about. Oh my God, Pi, hello. I just mentioned you earlier. Um, but Pi, I want to say like this is kind of the self-deprecating part of the show. I don't know if you necessarily want to be here for that because I can only hang for a few minutes. But I wanted to, because I gotta keep training Mary. But I wanted to say, I'm not saying you. Chad's a bit. I was gonna say I'm not saying you can't stay. I'm just saying like a lot of stuff that's been on my mind and heart for the last couple of months. And I don't want you to go into fight mode as you're training someone. But yeah, it's like I'll sound like I know what I'm talking about, and then eventually just be like, hey, was that really even me? Like, was I the person that actually did that? So I've just felt like a whole bunch of different, I guess, feelings and emotions and stress, and it's kind of led me to doubt myself a lot more than I ever have, which is bad as a person that um, doesn't have the best self-esteem in the world. So you put all those factors together, and it's kind of like a recipe for disaster. Um, so yeah, I really don't know. It's like I said, the first half of this year has just been very, very stressful, and it's just been it's been one of those things where it makes you just be like, hey, can we just like speed through the rest of the second half of this year too, just so that you don't have, just so that I don't have to be bothered with any more calamities that could possibly happen. So it's been a trip, really. Um, God, I don't know, like, and I think what, and I started with this before, but I've had just like such a really bad burnout with things that I do genuinely enjoy, just because like I feel like I can't fully enjoy them because I'm just so tired time and I'm so fed up a lot of the time, and I feel like I'm always like kind of activated. And I know that sounds like a really weird term to use, activated, but it's like I can't, without me being in a, I guess, calm enough space, I can never really like kind of relax or like really turn my brain off or anything like that. Like, no, that makes sense. It's yeah, and it's like I've been in that mode for so long that it's almost like it's jammed to on at all times. And I know what I need to do that, but at the same token of me preparing myself to do that, there's also the matter of, hey, I'd like to at least at some point do something, kind of nice for myself. But in a lot of instances, I can't do that something nice for myself without it being, nice for everyone in the area. And it's just incredibly tiring. And between that and my friend circle and just so much, I don't know. I've just been talking off of the top of my head because, like I said, there's just so much I wanted to say. Like, the start of this month was a bad sign because of, again, stuff that I'm not going to fully get into detail about. If you know, you know. But once, like, priorities took away from, like, one of the two things I was looking forward to, it just really messed me up. I'm so sorry. I love you so much. No, Pi, it's perfectly fine. Fuck your job, by the way. Your bosses can eat shit. But do what you gotta do. Make sure to take care of yourself. Eat, drink some water whenever you can. Um, get home safe once the day is over for you. I love you too. Thank you for being here for the little bit of time you were here. Um, but yeah, and ironically enough, in January, one of the wrestling promotions that I do watch from time to time, they came to Newark. I'm not going to give the air. Well, they came to Prudential in Newark. I'm not going to give any more information than that. So they came there, and we went to, me and my two friends, we went there, didn't get home until like midnight, 1 o'clock. I ended up taking that day off, the following day, rather. And they're coming back in November. But I'm now so paranoid that something else is going to happen in November that I'm just kind of at a point where I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to get my hopes up. I'm just going to like sit and I'm going to just let it go. I'd love to go because I think I'd have some money saved up to go, and maybe like beforehand I can get some merch or something like that. I would love to go, but I'm under the impression that something's going to happen to uproot that so much that it's like, what's the point of doing that if it's only going to like turn out the way X did or turn out the way Y did? It sucks. You know, I've thought about it because my friend kind of has the hookup for the tickets, um, assuming he gets everything done that he needs to do by that time. But I don't know. I spent an hour just talking again. Well, almost an hour. So I guess I'm just a mix of like a whole bunch of things, and none of them are good, and sadly none of them ever seem to be good. um Actually, while I'm here, there is one thing that I want to address. I doubt um the person is ever going to see this, um because I don't know if they have a YouTube, but without saying any names, I heard about what happened as of last night. This morning, said person has been blocked from my Twitch and also banned. I'm probably not going back to Twitch for the foreseeable future, but I don't take kindly to what I heard, so I banned the fuck out of them prior. And if by chance they find their way in here, they will be banned in here as well. Again, I'm not going to bring up any personal issues. Hopefully I can talk to that person. Yeah. Who am I fighting? I'll throw hands. I'll DM it to you later. But I just wanted to put it out there, and that's kind of a warning to anybody. Like, if I think that you're going to be everyone. Caitlin Malone? Who's this? Wait, what? Uh, it is you. All right. Yeah, this is awkward. I mean, here's the thing. I'm not going to remember that is your actual name, but like that threw me off. I'm gonna have to leave me alone. No, it's not that. I was just like really taken aback. I'm like, who the fuck is that? Like, I was about to give Jahulia like the wrench and be like, hey, ban this person. But yeah, you should probably do get some rest. I know you had an appointment to go to. I'm surprised you're still awake. I figured you were gonna go to the appointment, come back, and then go to sleep. Um, but anyway, I will fight everyone. I'm in bed, don't worry. I just forgot I'm not logged into my... Oh, okay. That makes sense. That's fair. Alright, just remind me if you're not on, like, the next time, because, like I said, I am not going to remember that that is Hermit, so please keep that in mind. But yeah, Jay, I'll let you know. So sorry for the jump scare. It's okay. But I'll DM you later because when I found out about it, I was extremely ticked off, and I took the that I needed to. Um, she was about to get the bad hair. Look, if I'm very cautious of like random people coming in whose names I don't remember, and I would have cried. I would if I found out it was you afterwards, I would have immediately put the unban. Immediately. I would have been like, I'm so sorry. I did not know. But I'm very, like, cautious. Because I don't want just strangers pulling up on my YouTube while I'm, like, using this as, like, yap therapy. So, um... So, yeah. Um... Yeah, I'll go into that tea later. Um, Actually, there is a work story I meant to go into um yesterday, but I can't hear. So, a couple of I want to say it was sometime last month. There was someone who had, I guess, wanted to use this coupon from like 4 or 5 months ago. And my manager kind of like all of my managers have kind of operated in a certain way to avoid any conflict because the store is a separate entity from the university, like from the school itself. So if the school doesn't see a need for a bookstore, it gets axed without question. And they want to try and avoid that. But that means pandering to a lot of students and parents a lot of the time. And it's kind of like pandering to them, even though they're clearly like either in the wrong or they don't realize that like there is an expiration date on things. And so the coupon was from the previous semester, months removed from where we are now. And they called to the back to try and figure out what's going on. And lo and behold, the person ends up getting the discount anyway. And so my coworker is like, well, what is the limit at that point? Because realistically speaking, that's a 5-month-old coupon that you just redeemed. Like, are you gonna just give anybody like that discount? And he was an employee for the school, so he was gonna get a discount anyway, but he insisted on using the coupon instead. And in that moment, he was kind of talking as if like we didn't know what we were talking about. And for my coworker, this was her first retail job. But for me, I've been doing retail for years. So I walked with him to the back, and I'm going to be like, yo, I'm just going to tell you straight up, like, I do not appreciate that you told me, like you were telling me as if I didn't know, like, what I was talking about. Because any other retail store where you bring in a coupon like that, if it's a week, then yeah, maybe you let it slide. But 3 months, you're out of your mind. Anywhere else, that would not have slid. Simple. Ooh. 3 months is wild. Jay, let me tell you, I once got a coupon at Macy's for a Black Friday, I think like 30% off. And that coupon was from Black Friday of the previous year. And I sat here, and thankfully my assistant manager was there. Her name was Michelle. I'll never forget it. Yes, she was 5 foot nothing, but one of the most terrifying presence that I had ever seen. And yeah, she was a white lady, but she wasn't, how do I put it? She wasn't your typical white lady. I'll put it like that. And so she came over and she was like, was something the matter? And the customer was kind of like visibly upset, but she stood her ground and she was like, did you read the date of this coupon? And do you know what year it is? This coupon expired 365 days ago. Now, if you'd have came in like maybe 2 weeks ago when this was active, we could have honored it. But a whole year? No, I'm good. Like, we can't do that. And they were like, oh, I want to speak to your manager. And she presented her name tag. And that's when she embarrassed herself in front of everybody. And I was trying not to laugh in front of the lady as she was dismissed. But when she left out of the store and was no longer in like distance, like earshot, I busted out in tears. It was hilarious. Seeing her get embarrassed like that was absolutely hysterical. But yeah, and I had to let my current manager know. I'm like, listen, you can't do that. Like, why are you doing that for people? So you do that for one person, they see it, and then they're just going to allow you, like, you're just going to allow them to do it every single time? Like, is that what it is? Because at that point, essentially, you're not even the running the store. And you're the store manager. They are, because they tell you what to do. Or they tell you what it is. And that's not the way this works. You know, and we had a conversation about it. We didn't come to blows or anything. But it was a genuine conversation that needed to be had, because again, at what point do you stop catering to 95% of this campus? You know, and 85% of that is in fact white. So like, at what point do you stop? You know, regardless of whatever, like, there has to be some kind of limit. And this goes into what I was talking to Hermit and Kylo about last night, in regards to the customer always being right. He brought that up to me, and I was like, if you honestly think with how long I've been in retail that I believe that, you might want to look at my resume again, because the places I've worked for, if you've reached the time limit on your coupon, I don't know what to tell you. I can't help you. You know, but the only difference was, when we were at CVS, we had a lot of coupon clippers back then. So they would come in with like whole folders, or like a full binder with like a whole big Ziploc bag filled with like coupons for certain things that they'd clip from like a magazine, or that they'd keep from CVS, or that they'd find in the newspaper. And every single time, because we knew they wouldn't like leave unless we really honored them, I'd have to be given confirmation to like use the keys, essentially, so that I could do the manager override and scan whatever coupons needed to be scanned, and then whatever else is dealt with. It was not, it was a fun time, but it was also not a fun time. The only fun time was really like, because we were literally right next door to a Papa John's, and they gave us some stuff for free at some points. Especially when it was like the closing shift, we got a lot of free food at the time. But But yeah, so it like I stand very firmly on that. Like if I don't know something, then I don't know something. It is what it is. But I stand very firmly on like that's not how this works. And I'm not going to sit here and like cater to you just because you think that you can come here with a 3-month-old coupon and think that it's like still valid. You know, and there is a loophole around that, but most customers don't read instructions when given a coupon. So they'll be in their right to use it, but they won't know how to truly activate it. They'll just think they give it to us and that's it. And even that's under certain circumstances. So it's very interesting. It's very interesting. But yeah. Oh, Hermit, by the way, you also just like you just missed Pi a little while ago. Like they were here for a little bit, but they're also still training they're also still training the new girl that's over there. So I imagine they're going to be doing that until they get off of work. And at that point, I hope they take care of themselves for that. But yeah, yeah, I've just been a lot of, again, like my current avatar on the screen, I have been very flat on my face, like this whole first part of the year of our Lord. I don't know why I'm talking like that, but this first half of the year is rough, and I am really cautious about having any real hope for like the second half of it, just because I don't know, like, and then again like my mom will bring up, oh, I can't believe like I've told like friends of mine that you're turning 31 and like they can't believe it, and I'm like, I don't need to be reminded that I'm getting like 1 year older, you know, because I don't feel like I've done anything with my life. At least, let me rephrase that. I don't feel like I've done what would be expected to be done in my life by this time. Oh, why does she need to tell people? It's a mom thing, honestly, at this point, you know, and it's just what they do. And half the time when it's there, I'm at work. So it's not like I could stop her, even if I wanted to. But even outside of that, it's like being reminded of that, it doesn't like help. In fact, it kind of does the opposite. It pushes the very like negative narrative that I already have of myself at the forefront. Because a lot of the stuff that you would think someone would have done, which is a lot of stuff I've posted in like Discord channels and stuff like that, a lot of that I just haven't done. And it's kind of like it's carried a lot of it's caused me to carry a lot of shame, a lot of thoughts of being like defective. Not saying that I was ever going to be imperfect, that I was going to be perfect, but like instead of just being a person with flaws, it's more like me being what's the word? Yeah, the word is defective. Like there's something inherently wrong with me, and because of that, for whatever reason, and it may not even necessarily be because of me personally, but for whatever reason, it's like that has caused me to constantly fail and again fall flat on my face half of the time. And like I mentioned earlier, the breaking point was like having to I refunded my ticket already for the event, but the final nail in the coffin was having to do that. And when I realized that the next day, when I tried to distract myself between work and watching wrestling on Tuesday, because that's really all I particularly do, when I finally realized at that point that the distractions just didn't work and the feelings crept up on me, I only felt like that much worse. So I carry a lot of feelings of shame, a lot of feelings of being defective, and just a whole lot of feelings of kind of just giving up. And I don't mean that in the way a lot of people mean in regards to giving up, but just kind of being tired, kind of at a point where I'm just like, what's the point? And again, I want to reiterate, if this is getting too real or hitting too close to home or whatever the case may be, if you're not in the right headspace and you're listening to me, please, I implore you, I'm insisting, you do not have to stay. Take care of yourself first. Please. Right now, without getting too much into a whole lot of details of certain events, this is kind of just a way for me to really get it all out. Because like I said, I unintentionally missed therapy yesterday. That's number one. And number two, I don't see him for this week, next week, or the week after that. So it's kind of like getting this stuff out verbally, but also writing it down and kind of acknowledging that there is levels of shame that I carry, like I said, levels of deep insecurity that I carry, and just at the approaching the second half or the start of the second half of the year, I'm just kind of at a point where I'm like, what's the point? It's almost like I feel like I walk around with this black cloud constantly hovering over me. And it kind of just it doesn't downpour, but it does rain on me a lot. And even if someone comes around and they have an umbrella, metaphorically speaking, even if they have that, I still prefer them not be in my general space, only because I'd rather carry the dark cloud alone and deal with it rather than have someone always have to come around and be ready for when I come around, because I always have a constant downpour coming on me for one reason or another, you know. And hold on one second. What is this? Okay. So, and no, it's I'm not trying to tell anyone how they feel, but it also feels like unfair to them if I'm just like letting them come in and they constantly have to like avoid getting wet because I don't always have like the best news and I'm not always in the best headspace, and there are some days when I wake up and don't feel like doing anything, or the only thing I'll do is I'll use the bathroom and that's about it. You know, it takes a while for me to build up anything, to make anything to eat or drink water, or things like that. Like stuff that would require you to take care of yourself, it becomes more of a struggle than anything. And I'd rather not anyone have to, well, anyone want to carry that with me. So it's kind of why I self-isolate a bit. Um, the one silver lining is that at least the weekend of the 4th of July, I get paid. And then later on this month, hopefully, I'll have a new set of glasses for myself. But otherwise than that, it's just been really rough and just a whole lot of stuff going on, and I don't know. I'm just very tired. Um, More tired than I can actually put into words. But while I hate to end on that kind of like really somber, sad note, it is going on 7:30, and I have only eaten once, so I need to get to the kitchen and figure out what it is I'm gonna eat for the day, for tonight anyway. Um, Bish, go. I gotta figure out what I'm gonna eat. That's the thing. This is the first time in 3 months that we're kind of like down to the last little bit of stuff to make. We have enough to survive because later this week we do the usual grocery shopping and stuff like that, and then do laundry. So I'm not too worried, but I do need to eventually like eat something. Definitely got to do that. So um, for anyone that came in, um, thank you for listening to me kind of ramble on. Like I said, this was more of a yap therapy session of anything. And Herbert, if you're somehow still awake, I don't know if you are, but if you are, thank you for popping in. Pi, thank you for popping in. Jay, thank you for popping in and staying in. I appreciate all you guys. Um, I don't know when I'm going to be back. I don't know if I'm going to be back next Friday. I don't know if I'm going to be back around my birthday. I don't know. I really don't know too much of anything. I'll maybe if at some point I get the energy or I get the spark to stream where I can just like, you know, actually play something or whatever, you know, then maybe I'll hop back on. But I don't know when that point is going to be. I know there's no pressure, but like, I did this because I thought it would be a fun time, and then moved to Twitch because, as Hermit said, all the cool kids were over there and it was going really well, and then it wasn't, and then everything kind of blew up, and along with everything that's going on outside of streaming, it's just gathering the energy to want to stream anymore, let alone stream and play a game. So, yeah, all right, I've yapped for long enough. Let me head out so I can go and eat. The one good thing about this is I don't have to raid anybody. There isn't anybody streaming right now that I could raid into anyway. So again, thanks you guys for coming in, for listening to just letting me talk my heart out. I love you guys very much. And until next time, whenever that may be, I'll see you guys later. Bye, guys.